Hello, welcome to the new video The Love of Milim and Rimuru by BenGrem1234. Chapter 53. Extra Chapter Part 1. Anyway, this is a wholesome chapter filled with nothing but love between two lovers. After the evolution was done, the subordinates of Gazel Dwargo sent a message to Gazel about all that happened here in Tempest. Gazel and his ministers were in an uproar regarding what happened, and Gazel immediately headed to Jura Forest Federation to see with his own eyes if what he heard is true. The next day after the evolution of Rimuru's subordinates, Rimuru had a meeting with the top leaders of the Eastern Empire along with Velgrand, who returned the night before with the hero Masayuki. The hero Masayuki was supposed to be the reincarnation of Emperor Rudra, or so Velgrand says. Due to this, Masayuki was named the king of the Eastern Empire. Gazel was also in attendance as a witness to the peace talk that will happen. The meeting went on without any problem, and it was decided that Masayuki will lead the Eastern Empire in the war that is happening next month. After the meeting, Rimuru returned to the labyrinth with Velgrand and Masayuki, where all the soldiers of the Empire were staying. Velgrand opened a portal that leads directly to the Eastern Empire, and all the soldiers returned home along with Velgrand and Masayuki. The next day after that, Rimuru was in his room looking at himself in the mirror. And there, casual cool clothes for my outing with Milim is complete. Rimuru admired himself in the mirror. He wore an ash long-sleeve sweater with a grey trouser. He was wearing a blue pendant around his neck and glasses around his eyes. Anyone who doesn't know him will mistake him for a girl. Rimuru left his room and headed for the exit of his castle. All the goblinas who works as maid in his castle bowed to him as he left. Rimuru walked and admired the scenery of his nation. The city of Rimuru looks beautiful, and everyone was busy doing their own thing. Monster children were seen playing in the new park that was opened, and the adults monsters were seen attending to their shops. The nation of the Jura Forest Federation was peaceful, but Rimuru knew it won't last because the Great War will begin next week. Even so, he vowed to do his best to protect his nation and his people. Rimuru walked to the middle of the city to a fountain, and seating on the fountain admiring her reflection was his beautiful future wife Milim. Rimuru could not believe how beautiful casual clothes looks on Milim. She was wearing a white camisole with love design that covered her chest and hand, but exposed her shoulder and stomach. She was also wearing a purple skirt with female shoes. She had a light makeup on her face and was wearing some light jewelries. All in all, she looks very beautiful. Milim, sensing Rimuru approaching her, turned around and saw his appearance, which caused a huge blush to appear on her face. Rimuru, seeing the blush, felt good about his choice of clothing since it was able to get a reaction from his lover. "Sorry I kept you waiting, Milim." "No, I just got here myself, Rimuru, so don't mind it." Rimuru approached Milim and took her by her shoulders before bringing her in for a kiss. Milim happily accepted the kiss from him, and both of them stayed that way for some time. After some seconds, both of them broke the kiss and looked at each other's eyes while still holding hands. "You look beautiful in your clothes, Milim." Rimuru told her his true feelings. "Not as much as you, Rimuru. I nearly had a nosebleed when I saw you coming to me," Milim joked. Rimuru smiled at that and pecked Milim at her forehead. "How about we begin this date, Milim? Before that, let's take a picture to remember today." Milim put her hand in her skirt pocket and brought out a small device that looks like an Android phone. The device really is like a phone and has some of its features. It happened some time ago when Rimuru approached both Vesta and Gabiru and explained how phones from his old world works. Both Vesta and Gabiru were interested and began to work on building it. It took them a few months before they presented Rimuru with the device, which they named Global Transmission. This device uses magicules in the air as its power source. It is similar to phones when it comes to long-distance communication, but the difference is that unlike phones which uses network service, the Global Transmission uses magicules for its long-distance communication. It can search and connect to other global transmission at any distance so long as magicules exist there, which will allow for long-distance communication. This device was only a prototype, which is why Rimuru has not made it public yet and has only shared it with his nation. Milim obviously gets one since she is the queen of this nation. Of course, the global transmission has other features, and picture taking is one of them. Which is why Milim brought it out to take pictures with Rimuru. Ever since Rimuru explained how the global transmission works to Milim, she has been obsessed with taking pictures of Rimuru at any opportunities she gets. Rimuru, seeing how happy it makes Milim to take his pictures, accepted it without issues. Milim connected her left hand with Rimuru in an intimate way and raised the global transmission with her right hand, ready to take their picture. "Look at the camera, Rimuru," Milim told him as she took their picture. Milim looked at the picture she took and smiled. "I love this picture, Rimuru." Let me see. Rimuru looked at the picture and smiled. We really do look good together. Both of them smiled at each other and held hands before leaving the fountain to begin their date. Rimuru took Milim to a new sweet shop that recently opened up in Tempest. As both of them entered the shop, the shopkeeper, who was a female fox lady, approached them. Welcome to my show. She looked closer to the two people who entered her shop and her face paled when she recognized them, Lord Rimuru and Lady Milim. All the other customers who were seating on their table inside the shop immediately turned to the entrance after hearing the shout of the shopkeeper. Their own face paled after recognizing Rimuru and Milim. Rimuru sighed. No need for you to feel nervous, shopkeeper-san. We are just here today as customers and would like to try your cakes. We would also like a private room where we can eat with no disturbance. Of course, sir. Right away, the female shopkeeper said with a high-pitched voice which showed that she is still nervous, but she still did her job. She took Rimuru and Milim upstairs to a private room which is usually reserved for VIPs, customers like one of the 12 Patarians of Tempest. People like Testarossa, Carrera and Ultima likes to come to this shop and spend their day off, and the room she is taking Rimuru and Milim is the one they usually use. Rimuru and Milim entered the room and went and sat down to a table near the window which had a view of what goes on in the city. The room is not that big and doesn't have much decoration. All it had is a flower vase by the entrance of the stairs and the table with chairs by the window side. Rimuru turned to the shopkeeper, who was standing by the side of their table waiting for their order. I will like a slice of chocolate cake with strawberry juice. The shopkeeper took what he said down in her notepad and turned to Milim. I want a full strawberry cake and a full milk cake with a lot of icing sugar on it. I also want banana bread and banana juice with it. Not just the shopkeeper, even Rimuru was shocked at the quantity of dessert that Milim ordered. The shopkeeper immediately left to go and bring their ordered dessert. Rimuru faced Milim. I know how much you love sweets, Milim, but can you finish all that sweet you just ordered? Don't underestimate me, darling. I have often been told by Shuna that I have a black hole in my stomach due to how much I eat, Milim said in a proud way, as if she is proud of her accomplishments. Rimuru sighed and wished Shuna good luck in his heart because she is the one who always prepares Milim's food. After some minutes, the shopkeeper along with another person working in the shop brought the desserts that Rimuru and Milim ordered. Milim was overjoyed from seeing the desserts before she began to eat them. Rimuru watched her with wide eyes as Milim cleared all the dessert that was brought to her. In a matter of a few minutes, she was done with her dessert. Rimuru looked at the satisfied look on her face before he nodded. It really is like a black hole. Milim opened her eyes and gave Rimuru an annoyed look. Are you trying to say something? Cold sweat began rolling on Rimuru's back. I said nothing except for how beautiful you look, sweetheart. Milim's expression changed instantly. She blushed and began to shyly shake on her seat. Do you mean it? Of course I mean it. You are the most beautiful lady in the entire multiverse. No one can match your beauty. Rimuru buttered up Milim as best he could. Milim shyly looked away from Rimuru with her face still red. Thank you, sweetheart. Rimuru sighed in relief. He almost thought that he was a dead man when Milim gave him that annoyed look. Good thing that Milim is still very weak to compliments, or he would have been punished for his big mouth. As they say, a man is not a man if he can't rescue himself from his annoyed girlfriend with his mouth. After that, Rimuru took Milim's hand and both of them left the shop after paying for their service. Rimuru and Milim went to many places in Tempest, like the clothing store, where Milim convinced Rimuru to try out several clothes ranging from male cloths to female cloths. They also went to the arena that was recently built and watched the fight between monsters there. In all this, Milim was smiling and having a good time being with Rimuru during their date. Rimuru smiled when he saw the expression on Milim's face. All in all, the date was a huge success. As the day was coming to an end, Rimuru stopped and took Milim's hand. What's the matter, Rimuru? Milim asked him in confusion. I want to take you somewhere before we end our date, Rimuru told her. Where exactly do you want to take me? Milim asked with curiosity. You'll see. After saying that, a magic circle appeared below the feet of both Rimuru and Milim. Milim looked at the magic circle in surprise, but before she can understand what is happening, both she and Rimuru disappeared. They both appeared on the moon, literally. Milim let go of Rimuru and looked around and saw that they were in space and that she can see Earth in a distance. This really surprised her because she didn't think Rimuru will take them to the moon. Rimuru walked close to Milim and hugged her from behind, placing his head on her shoulder while his hands were on her bare stomach. Smirk. Milim again was shocked by the surprise hug, but she didn't move and just leaned back to Rimuru. Milim, I know about the training you had, Rimuru began. I know that you have managed to break the shackles of this world and have become a deity. I know how much you were pushing yourself during your training in Other to not only master your ultimate skill, but to also master your inherent powers as the daughter of the Creator. I know all this, but I am still sad for watching you go through those suffering just because of my incompetence. You are wrong, Rimuru, Milim gently said, and she took Rimuru's hand that was in her stomach and placed them on her chest. If you know what I mean, smirk. I did all this so that you won't have to carry on the burden by yourself. I am your bride and I should walk side by side with you, but I always feel you moving ahead of me with your quick evolutions. You always stand ahead of me, ready to protect me, but I didn't want that because it meant you had to carry on all the burden alone. I want to carry some of it for you, but I wasn't strong enough to do that. Which is why for the first time in my life, I trained with all my heart. Now, I can protect both myself and you if you ever need it, Milim told Rimuru all that she feels. Rimuru smiled and chuckled. You do realize that it is a man's job to protect his wife and family, right? Milim laughed a little at that. When have we been a normal couple? I want to create a world where our future children will live in peace without fear or worry from anything. Rimuru nodded. I will like that a lot, but Rimu is strong. Right now, she is as strong as me, but if she manages to break her final seal, then she will be a supreme deity which is an existence that no one can comprehend including me. Milim, still in Rimuru's embrace, turned around and faced Rimuru. I will make sure that doesn't happen. We will win this war no matter what happens. Rimuru looked into her eyes and saw the determination in them which calmed his heart. We will. I'll make sure of it no matter what I have to do. Milim smiled and kissed Rimuru on the lips, which Rimuru responded to. Both of them kept kissing each other while standing on the moon, not caring about anything else except for each other. This peaceful time of them will soon come to an end because the war against Rimu is fast approaching.